Hey, what's up, guys? So Etch just opened up their cart to the general public, and given that I built what I think is the very first client site ever built with Etch, at least no one has fought me on this claim so far, I wanted to take a few minutes unscripted and just sort of run through what that site looks like on the front end, what it looks like on the back end, and kind of give you like my honest thoughts on the whole experience and what I think the future looks like for Etch, and then most importantly, whether I think it's something you should consider investing in, because obviously Etch is not meant for everyone, but if you fall into this specific category of web designer, then I think you'll like it a lot. So yeah, I'm just going to jump right in and then I'll talk about anything that comes to mind. So here's the site. This is incognito, just so we can make use of caching and speed things up. But yeah, I'll just rip through every page. Here's the home page. Yeah, some testimonial logos, content, all their services, more content. And some of these, well, actually most of these images are built with or generated with Midjourney, just because this is a new business that doesn't have a ton of custom photos and photography yet. So we're kind of limited to just using AI photos, some testimonials, and then a call to action section. So yeah, I'm just going to fly through this. An about us page. Here we have more information about their services. Oh yeah, this FAQ section. And then they have a tech stack page. So this is kind of like their tools with an affiliate link or a sign up link. There's only 3 testimonials right now, or I guess 4, but this one's hidden on the live site just because it's not a real one. But when they have 4, this is what the layout will look like. And then obviously this has room to grow beneath this. And then there's a newsletter landing page. Pretty simple. And then let me just go back to the site and then a contact page. And I think that's pretty much it. There's also this privacy policy page, but they haven't actually filled this out yet. And then there's also a mobile menu where if you make that a bit smaller, you can see it opens up a nice little menu. Okay, so that's what the site looks like on the front end. And now I'll switch over to the back end just to kind of show you how things were built and what it looks like. So let's open up the dashboard and I'll run through the plugins just so you can see what my stack kind of looks like. So I'm using admin and site enhancements, mostly to order my custom post types and have like a custom login page and clean up the dashboard. There's a ton of nice little tweaks, I guess, that are available in this plugin. Advanced custom fields. So this will essentially be made redundant, honestly, pretty quickly. Like Etch has the ability to create custom post types now, which I'll show you. It's still like a very basic iteration, but you basically won't need ACF going forward in the future. And then automatic CSS. This is the CSS framework that I use now. It just speeds things up. We got Etch, Fluent SMTP, Flying Press, which honestly, when it works, it's pretty great. But this is like one of those plugins that I've had a ton of issues with, so it's hard to give my stamp of approval. But when it does work, it does make the site super fast. That's just for the staging. This is just for plugin management. I usually use Ninja Firewall on most sites, redirection, SEO Press, which I think will also be made redundant by Etch in the future. Because really you don't need that much from an SEO plugin. You just kind of need to control page titles and sitemaps and like social share images. Short Pixel for optimizing images, WP Codebox just for different code snippets. I use WP Vivid for backups, and of course WS Form for forms. So that's the plugin stack. And yeah, I guess we can hop into ACF just to see how I have things laid out. So I have a few different post types, one for services, one for testimonials, and one for tools. And then taxonomies, Oh, I guess I just used the native taxonomy. But yeah, if we go to pages first, we can hop into the homepage. And so one of the things with Etch is that it has Gutenberg block authoring. So whatever you design in Etch will automatically create the blocks in Gutenberg. And basically it becomes what Gutenberg was really meant to be, which is like a client editing interface. So this is still very much in development. As you can see on the homepage here, for whatever reason, this page actually has quite a few issues with the Gutenberg authoring. So this isn't a great example, but here, I'll open up another one. Let's go to the About page. So you can see this page is a lot more of what it actually looks like on the front end. Like I said, they are still working on some things, but here you have the hero section actually looks like what it's supposed to look like. It looks like there's an issue here with like the grid loading properly because that should be 2 columns, but this section looks good. We have our components here. And so I'm actually having an issue with, again, like all of this is basically changing every update, but right now I can't change any of the text. But what you can do when it is working is actually just edit the content straight from here. So I think I don't know if it's the way I set up my template or something, but let's say I go to one of these icon boxes. And I think if I just select it manually, then I can do it here. But basically I can change. Oh, I think we lost it here. If I go back down, you can change, let's say, the heading to this is a test. And if I save it here, it'll automatically sync back up with Etch, which is really cool. So, I mean, I think you can kind of see the end vision where the client just comes into WordPress. They don't even know what Etch is and can just click on the content and edit components like this, which is a really nice feature because these are basically custom blocks that are built with Etch. So that's what the page looks like right now, kind of in Gutenberg. Still working on some loop stuff. But then if we go into Etch, obviously I'm not going to save any of that. But yeah, if we go into Etch, things load pretty quickly here. Like I haven't really experienced any lag while editing content. And in general, I'd say it's a pretty good 1-to-1 ratio of what the site looks like on the back end versus the front end. It's not perfect, but I mean, a lot of page builders that I've used, Bricks is especially guilty for this. It just sometimes, like so many times, I just have to open up the page on the front end just to see what the text or the design actually looks like. But I feel like with Etch, that hasn't been very much of an issue. It's probably on a similar level to Bricks, if not slightly better right now. Yeah, so obviously they have the structure panel here. You can change certain elements, and then you have full access to the HTML and CSS. And what I actually found was super interesting is that, so they do have what am I looking for? Style inputs. So this is what you might be more familiar with if you're using a Bricks or Oxygen or literally every other page builder. You know, when you add a class, you can, what do I have on this class? Okay. Here, let me just, permission. So that's, I think it's this section. Yeah. So normally you would, you know, make all your styling changes in the styling panel here. And you have that available. I think they are still doing a lot of work to this whole panel. But what I found was interesting is that I actually disabled this pretty quickly. So if you turn that off, then you kind of gain all this real estate. And I pretty much just started writing custom CSS because it was honestly just as fast. And this is like such an underrated feature, but it's so nice to know that whatever I add in the custom CSS syncs up with the actual styling panel here. Because one of the reasons I don't really use custom CSS with other page builders is because then you click on an element and you see 0 styling is applied to it. So you're like, you have no idea where the styling came from. But in Etch, everything I do here pretty much reflects in the actual styling panel as well, which is really nice. As far as writing custom CSS, I actually got used to the CSS nesting method that they use very quickly. Like in most page builders, if you want certain styling on mobile devices, then you kind of have to go to the breakpoint changer, switch it over here, and then write the CSS for that breakpoint. Whereas in Etch, everything is all like whatever is attached to this class is what you see. So that was pretty easy for me to pick up. And it's also like just quite nice to write CSS in this box. So it has autocomplete here. You can go display and then whatever you want to do. It kind of makes that super fast. And then as you can see, it also syncs with the styling panel over here. And then another huge benefit is being able to access the full HTML. So I'm just going to hide the styling input again for a second. And yeah, I guess you can look at this full screen. I usually don't have it full screen, but it's so nice just to see like, okay, this is my section HTML. And the huge benefit with this is that you can bring it into AI and have AI essentially create the sections for you or modify certain things. And that's just a feature that you don't get with any other page builder. But just to get to this FAQ section, so Etch doesn't currently have an accordion element. So I built this with Claude, and honestly, everyone says 2 minutes, but it probably took closer to 15 by the time it actually like got all the little details right. But yeah, like here is this accordion. And if I just open up the HTML here, like this was all created by Claude, and I could just change things however I needed. And Claude could do the CSS nesting, and yeah, like it wasn't that bad just creating my own custom element, which honestly is pretty insane. And then I'm sure you're curious as to what components and loops look like. So luckily this page has both of them. So here we have a tool card, which is a component. And basically when you go into a component, you can create the structure and add classes and whatever, and that will stay consistent across all instances across your website. And then you can have things that change. So with this heading, you make that a property, and then outside of the component editor, you can just say like, this is my heading, this is my tagline, and it'll just update that content without giving you the potential to break the whole element. Or if you decided you wanted to add an icon up here, then you can do that, and that'll reflect across all the component instances without having to make that change 100 different times. So that's what the component looks like. Right now, you can add a few different things like text, switches, images, loops, and slots where you could add just whatever content if you need for the structure to be a bit more flexible. But if I get out of the editor, you can see that for this component, I have all of the properties set to dynamic data so that this can just pull from the loop. And the loop, which again, this is really nice that you can modify this in plain code. This loop is saying pull the tool post type, and you can add these arguments, which I have set over here in the actual HTML. So this is really nice because now I can have this tool's query loop or argument, whatever you want to call it. And this is almost like a global class now, because I can use this set of arguments across any page on the website. And let's say I want to just, on one page show all of the tools, and then on another page only show 3. I can just change that directly in the HTML and still be able to use this query argument because I have it set dynamically here. So that's another cool feature. And lastly, I'm going to go through some of the other bigger features that Etch has. I know I'm going to miss a major one and be mad at myself after this video, but I'm just going to go through whatever I can find on the screen. So like I said, there's the Content Hub, which lets you see your posts and pages and modify the meta values for it. You can create new custom post types really quickly, and this is where you'll be able to add field groups as well. So like on this one, if you just wanted to add, let's say, a new service, something like that, then boom, this is already created. You can change the slug here. You can't change this yet, but as you can see, like that's just so fast to be able to create new posts. The media library, this is just using the standard library right now, but that's something that they'll be working on as well. It's an alpha. The templates, So they have some pretty cool views in terms of your template hierarchy. This is kind of like the standard one so far. So you have just like your general templates, and then for each post type, I don't have archive pages for most of my custom post types right now, so that's why you don't see them here, but you can create different templates for different post types. There's a style manager where you can see all of your classes, and this is using automatic CSS, but let's see if we can find a custom one. Subtext. So yeah, you can just make those changes here. You can rename the class. You can manage your variables here. It's just like a nice way to be able to make changes without having to like find instances of classes. And then there's a loop manager, which it's really cool that it gives you this preview, because then you can make sure what you have here is actually giving you the data that you want. So like if this is my query loop, then I can see like, okay, if I need to pull the image from this tool, then I know it's in an array under image and URL. So that just makes it a lot easier to build the actual dynamic data in HTML. Going back here, you can hide and show whatever panels you want. So I guess that's the other big thing too, is the modularity. So let's say you want your structure panel on the left, like Elementor. Actually, Elementor has like a pop-out panel, but I guess Oxygen had it on the left. Yeah, so you can just move that here. You can pull this on top or under. You can fold all your, well, I guess that's just structure panel stuff, but yeah, you can move that back here. Here's your HTML. You can even move this up here. There's just so much you can do with the layout. And I mean, you'll probably just set the layout once and know what style, what format you like working with. But just the fact that you can do that is a nice quality of life feature. You can hide the interface. I don't use that too much because I usually would just open it in a new window. And then you can add elements down here. I have the timer in the way, so I can't really see it, but yeah, or adding components. Again, this is like a beta alpha version, but that's how you would add a component. And I think that's pretty much it for actually working inside of the editor. All right, so now that I gave you a rundown of what an actual client site looks like on the back end, let's talk about some of the more juicy questions. So the first one, did I enjoy my experience building a site with Etch? The answer was definitely yes. It wasn't just another page builder experience, and that's mostly because of having access to the HTML and the CSS. It's like, especially going forward, where hopefully we won't have to build div by div and heading by heading, and just understanding how AI is going to play into building websites. Etch just automatically has a huge advantage because AI can essentially build elements within Etch. And that doesn't really exist for other page builders because they have their own proprietary elements. So when I was working with Etch, it just felt freeing that, oh, if I want this custom FAQ accordion, then I can just go into Claude and pop one out, essentially. As far as the interface itself, it's very clear that it was created by someone who has built client sites in the past and fully understands what people want. Obviously, some page builders are better than others, but there's just so many that you're just like, oh, I wish this and I wish that. And then you can submit a feature request, but it just doesn't seem like it'll ever actually make its way into the product. But with the way Etch is developing, it just feels like if this makes sense for a professional web designer or someone who is, aspiring to be a professional, then that's something they'll consider and put in. Like, I've had a few feature requests that just got put in literally like the same week or a week or two later. So it's nice to know that if an idea makes sense, then it's something that could actually get implemented. Would I recommend that you build client sites with Etch right now? That one is more of a maybe. So I built the one site and I would probably put a pause on it for now, just because it is still so early stage that I have no regrets building it with Etch. And I'm glad I did. And it was something that I sort of pitched to the customer and I told him I'd keep everything updated. But mostly for me, I just wanted to see how it would feel and what the process is like. But because it's still early stage, I mean, there may be like new bugs that get introduced in every release. And obviously, like, if you want to be a contributing member, then you want to report those bugs. So it can be a time consuming process. Like if I were to build the site in bricks, it probably would have taken half the time, not because of the actual process, but because of, just uncovering bugs and then trying to figure out, is this a bug or am I doing this the wrong way? So if you're wondering, like, I want to start building with this right away, as of, I guess, the end of July, you definitely could, but just understand that there's probably going to be quite a bit of time dedicated to helping or discovering those bugs. And so if you're fine with that, then like you can totally go for it. Like this is a live client website. But if you're building like a crazy big website for tens of thousands of dollars, I'd maybe just wait, honestly, just a little bit. Because I think it's super close. There's just like the small things that might be getting refactored or changed in one update to another. And unless you want to deal with that, then you may just want to hold off on like those important sites just for a little bit. Do I recommend that you buy Etch? Well, that depends on who you are. If you're debating between Go High Level and Etch, then maybe Etch doesn't make sense for you. But if you consider yourself a web designer and you just want to build the best possible websites, and you have client projects where you don't want to run into possible limitations and you want clean code and have an interface that actually makes sense for web designing, then I would 100% recommend Etch. And right now, so like I said, it's on sale again, or I guess not on sale, it's for sale to the general public. And I haven't even looked at this pricing yet. But right now, until September, there is a lifetime deal. And it's $4.99 for 15 sites, $7.99 for 50, and $12.99 for 250. And then there's a couple extra features that come with each. I guess most notably the WooCommerce integration. So even though this is probably a bit more expensive than what you may be used to for a WordPress page builder, like this is still super reasonable. I mean, this discussion's been had many times, but WordPress tools in general are just so insanely underpriced. Because if you consider like a construction worker, $4.99 buys them like a leaf blower that you may use once a month or whatever for 5 minutes a day. Whereas page builders are essentially the backbone of your web design business. So like you could put whatever number here. The pricing definitely makes a lot of sense. And as a lifetime deal too, like it's honestly pretty crazy. Yeah, we'll have to see what the subscriptions look like when that comes in September. But at the end of the day, like if you want to build the best possible websites, then you want to use the best possible tools. And it's almost guaranteed to be cheaper than a tool like Webflow or Framer, where you're paying per site and have to pay for like more team members and pages and all that kind of stuff. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Hopefully you found my experience building a real client site useful. And I do have an affiliate link for Etch if you did want to buy it. I'll leave that in the description below, but also leave me a comment if I might hate saying this, but if you think there's anything I missed or you want me to cover in a future video, and then that way I'll know what to focus on. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.